bit late to the party, had to work out some issues on the PC, but we are live and in action. I think I'm going over to the to the server right now, and we'll get you started with qualifying here in just a moment. Okay, got the qualifying up, got a big night in for us ahead of things. First, I gotta step away because I was just trying to fix a whole bunch of shit. I will be back in a moment's time to get everything going from here. But for now, enjoy Articulate Fox just ripping his way through a couple laps. Alright, I am back. Let's take a look at what we got so far with everybody's best laps here. Looks like Max Yang was able to kick off our first hot lap of the evening. We'll circle on with Articulate Fox and see what he was able to come up with as we head through some of the later parts or early parts of Sector 3. Now, this is going to get you a good sense of what the elevation changes and everything are as we work our way through the track. It looks like we actually have 17 racers on the grid, so that's going to provide for an interesting kerfuffle through some of these tighter corners. Now the MX5s do give themselves a lot of opportunity for too wide through some of these sections, but that doesn't mean anything's going to be easy. Take a look at this turn in here, and you can see it's one line that uses up pretty much the full width of the track, so it's going to be tough to make a move even in some of these longer corners. It's going to be something you have to get a nose in early and make it clear that that's what you're going for. And this corner right here is the absolute killer. It's a tough one, that entrance into the start-finish line, but Articulate Fox able to make his way through, ends up with a 1:47.9. That's going to be the fastest lap we see by far to start off the qualifying session. You got 24 minutes to do it, and we've got plenty of time to look around the grid. Let's check out Kyle's 32 and the number 2 Castrol Mazda as they get ready to tackle sector 3. Ooh, and a little bit of an off right there, so that will not be their cleanest. Let's check over with Daniel Cochran, also known as Deadly Daniel. Looks to be making himself just a little bit of a gap as he heads over to the side to let some of these other racers through. I believe our next closest one will be Slappin', who is going to be coming across the line with a bit of a clean lap. Puts himself at a 154. That's going to knock Gio Sano out of the top 10 for the time being. But look at that spread. We've got 7 seconds across the top 10 alone. So a lot of room for improvement and a lot of time for improvement. These guys do currently have, let's see, wind speeds in the... Did I mess that one up? That's the weather. What do I do for wind? Did I not pick you? Let's take a look at what I do with my buttons here. Hang on. Don't run that. I don't think that's what it's. Yep. Not that one. It's my CMRT settings. My leaderboard. Okay. So, made it to that for whatever reason, but it sees a southeast wind, a 16-kilometer-an-hour breeze to it. That's going to be a decent one. Now, there's not a lot of aero in these cars, so not much that's going to actually affect. But still interesting nonetheless. And wow, look at that attention to detail. You actually have the entrance to the track here. Is that really how you enter in? Let's take a look. Oh, yeah, look at that. Brings you right over to some of the grandstands, some of the finer spots. Now, looks like there's actually a little bit of a MotoGP course to this as well. And those more familiar with Zolder can take a good look around and see exactly what we're looking at. But a little drive through the woods and you find yourselves pretty much alongside that start-finish straight. So I'm going to say that is where you need to be to get into the track. But let's check in with Charlie Top Hat, a racer I don't think we've followed on the broadcast before, as he gets a rough start into the lap, but a full lap he'll be able to put on the board nonetheless. These guys have 21 minutes. It's only about a 2-minute lap. We're going to see plenty of attempts going around. Right now we already see 4 attempts from some of these cars, so things are moving as we head past the solar field here. Top Hat is in one of our more iconic liveries, the Harbor Freight Tools, designed by Sam S., who I would imagine is not currently rocking that one. It's interesting. Sam right now is in the number 36 default livery Mazda, sponsored by Mothers, which anyone else in the auto industry knows they make a mean polish, something that we can use pretty daily around the shop. And I did spot someone rocking Old Faithful. Oh, it's quite literally someone. How about that? So someone is currently driving around in the Holy Roller. This is one of the earliest liveries that we had in the server. It holds a special place in my heart. It quite literally is just a slightly, well, heavily modified version of one of the default ones. Yeah, it still holds up. And for those of you who think we give any advantages to the Holy Roller, it's actually one of the harder ones to steer with, because you can see it is not transparent on the upper portion of the windshield. This was before I figured out how to do that on my liveries, and I just never got around to fixing it. So anyone who drives this car is suffering through that, which isn't too bad on a track like this, but it's some of these that have crazy elevation changes, like Mid-Ohio, it does become a little bit of a disadvantage because you quite literally cannot see the tops of the hills or the bottoms of some of these corners. But someone seems to be doing okay with that, because they currently got a 147.5 and are a little bit ahead of Articulate Fox. So not a bad place to be ahead of the champ. Now, someone's going to be coming around here. It doesn't look like they've got the cleanest track on this, or their cleanest lap going on this one. We'll take a look in just a minute as they cross the line. Now, I know some of you might be missing out on some of the things we had set up for last time, so I'll get at least a performance delta up for you so we can take a look at exactly where they're at as far as their current sectors go. That'll help you out with the overall track time there. But it does look like someone came across the line with a 2:35 on that last one, so it definitely was an outlap. Just that there, and that should be good. Now, I don't know why they keep taking the map away, because that is probably the most useful piece of information we have. Even in the qualifying session, we can see as some people come racing around. Now, I do want to check in with Flair. Going to set a pretty solid lap time here, probably a 48.1. But it looks like may have had a cut somewhere along the way, cut in Sector 1, so wasn't able to get it fully clean, and is going to be stuck behind whoever is in the left sink handle in the Harbor Freight livery. I think that's the second person we have in that Harbor Freight livery. Now, it is qualifying. Everybody's trying to get a clean lap in. Left sink handle just beginning a clean lap. It's not really up to them to move over in this situation. It's more up to them to just kind of keep the pace, and if Flair wants to go for it, they're going to have to gun it. But it looks like Flair's going to back off a little bit, which will put him at the perils of Grandmaster Matt in that Marlboro livery, ripping over those curves through the chicane. That was honestly a great line through it if it's clean. I don't know for sure that it is. And it looks like a little slowdown here is to get ready for another tight set of corners. Someone does end up setting the fastest lap of the qualifying session with a 1:46.3. Important to note, we don't exactly know who this someone is, so that'll be interesting if there is a little bit of a reveal later on. And then, you know, sometimes it's not too hard to tell. We can search over to them and hit with a little bit of that. It does look like it is someone who's raced with us before. As a... it's hard sometimes to read the ranking. I don't know what the ranking is, but safety rating is definitely a 4.4, so I'd imagine it's definitely one of our faster racers. I'd be curious to see where they stand along the track as things progress. But they seem to be a man on a mission. They are not slowing down with a purple sector 1 this time around. Going to be very interesting to see how that one works out. Let's take a look a little bit further back in the bid. We've got Gio Sano trying to come around. No clean sectors yet, but with a time of 1:54, one big sector can really make the difference. Now this will give us a good sense of how long it takes to get to the line around that last corner. Came in right around 1:50, and will not see improvement here, but it is about 7 seconds if you're off, if you don't have the best acceleration through. So that'll be a tight one. Ooh, as we see Big Island Boy with a little bit of a spin that allows for Max Yang to get by. Max with a yellow sector 1. Trying to take a quick look here. Looks like it was a 39-second sector 1, followed by a 34-second sector 2. So I don't think we're going to see too much improvement as someone gets to the fastest sector 3 as well. So a huge sector 1 and a huge sector 3. Just blows it in sector 2 for someone, but that's 2 purple sectors in 1 attempt. We did just have the halfway through qualifying track change, so things are going to get a little bit warmer now, a little bit more grip on the tires, but the thing that really matters is the wind has not changed, so they're going to be sitting with the same amount at this point in time. Max ain't going to cross the line, but not going to see any improvement at this stage. Let's take a look at Charlie Top Hat, one of the racers trying to edge Sam out of that top 10. We do see a little bit of improvement in sector 1. They do seem to be clean still through sector 2 as we have a quick little lag spike. But they are still carrying along. That's what that blue flash is, if you're wondering. It just means that there's having some ping issues and are above the ping limit, so it makes the car ghost out for a little bit, but we are back to normal. As you can see on your leaderboard, the hard tire is the choice for today. There is no exception on the MX5, so it's really the choice for every day. But today especially, everybody's on it. We have talked about adding in a tire option or two just to see what would happen, but The only thing that would be relatively easy would be to add the wet tires, and it just doesn't seem like like there'd be any improvement from it. Although knowing these guys, they would find a way to use it to their advantage. I'll give them that. Now Charlie Top Hat does manage to cross the line. This time it shows up a 1:53.053, and it was a clean lap. That's not going to be enough to get past into that P10 spot. We do see a couple of these guys here inside that number P11 to P16 stretch, just outside the reach. Actually P17 as well, as Gio Sano actually isn't as far behind as I thought he was going to be, or they were going to be. And we're still seeing some improvements. Actually, speaking of improvements, we might see a big lap coming across the line from Slappin. That could be the one that knocks Sam out of the top 10. Oh ho ho! And by 0.05 of a second, Slappin just misses out and is not able to kick Sam out of the way there. Almost 0.06 of a second, but still, that is a tight battle between those two. So Slappin going to be getting the gear on to try and improve that, push a little bit further away. You see left sink handle moves up the pack to P6 with a nice lap. Does not knock anyone out of the top 10, but creeping closer and closer to the top 5. There is about a 0.5 second gap between P6 and P5. We'll see if that's able to close down, but more important than that, there's a full second gap beyond that, and it just keeps going down. So a lot of time still to be found. I would be willing to bet a fair amount of it is in the way people are taking that chicane. Just looking at some of the base times of the leaders, I'm actually seeing a full purple sectors from someone with 31.6 in sector 2, whereas a lot of the grid is doing 34s, 34s and 33s. So that'll be a big chunk of change loss. And same goes for sector 3. I'm seeing 35s compared to 37s and 36s. So those are the two sectors to be, and coincidentally, those are the two sectors with the big chicanes that you have to get that angle through properly. We're hanging on with Slappin', but I don't think this is going to be the lap to do it. I'm not seeing a ton of improvement, and we're 2 seconds off the delta. So let's take a look at one of the newer racers on the grid, Beans, who does seem to be in a livery that I embarrassingly do not have downloaded. So I apologize to the viewers. We will obviously circle back to the livery download before the next week. And you hear it from Boss Man himself, Parmesan, confirming that it is very important to get both of those chicanes right for a quick time. And so that is going to be the name of the game here today. Who can creep in? Looks like Charlie Top Hat was able to break into the 51s, as was Kyle's, but unfortunately for them, so was Sam. So Sam will continue to hold on to that P10 spot. Sam's really fighting for his life here. He's getting closer and closer from a couple of these guys behind him. Currently with a 150.5, so pushes Rick Nicholson into the dropout zone, and we see Charlie Top Hat with a phenomenal lap in progress. Can he get through and knock Rick? He's been chasing right at the edge of this top 10 for the last 20 minutes here. And we'll see if they're able to make anything happen. Let's go, Top Hat. Is this your lap? It is not. A little bit of improvement, but just not enough. Needs to find a 0.5 second plus after the improvement from Sam puts Rick Nicholson the next closest to him. So we'll continue keeping an eye on that one. Again, let's see how some of our newer racers are doing as far as getting a clean lap in. We'll join on with Beans now, who is beginning sector 3, and see what they can do to finish things off here in the final 10 minutes of qualifying. Alright, so looking over at the times here, Beans has put up a red sector 1. Somewhere there must have been a cut, so we're not going to see a clean lap from Beans to get onto the board. but at the very best, we might be able to get a sense of where they're at, what they're capable of. So we're still going to stick on here and see what they could possibly pull out later on. Now, we do know a rough exit through this chicane here can give you about 7 seconds, so I'm going to guess about a 158 for their first go around in full. And I was not even close. 201.2. So we're going to chalk that up to a little bit of issues with the first couple of corners here. But let's take a peek at some of the other grids as we go by. This time, Grandmaster Matt working his way into a hot lap in that beautiful Marlboro livery. We used to call it the Marlboro Mo because Mo Powers was the one to find that one and bring it in. And I gotta say, it looks just as good as ever. A couple of custom decals on there from the boy himself. And look at that, a little New York see you later license plate. Funny, because he did move out of New York. I don't know if that was the plan when he made this livery, but did end up happening that way. But we still miss him, of course. Man, these moments are tight because it really does help Grandmaster Matt to have a little bit of toe into that chicane, but it does give you an awkward entry too. As you can see, was starting to gain a little time on the Delta, ended up losing 3/10 from the awkward line through. As we see a little bit of a collision there on the grid. This one between Flair and Island Boy, but it doesn't seem like anything too crazy. Flair actually has worked their way into the top 10, knocking Rick Nicholson out as the grid gets tighter and tighter. So it's 6 minutes remaining. Let's take a look at some of the guys a little bit further back. I don't think we've checked in with Gio Sano just yet. We did see a little apology go out from Island Boy to Flair, so at least, you know, you get to see a little bit of something. I will put the chat up over here so you guys can get a little peek as that communication does happen and see what we see. I will have my live timings up for P1 to P18, which is everybody in the grid, so that's pretty nice. I'm not really going to be able to see sector times for P18 with the way things stand, but speaking of stands, we can take a look at the standings. If you take a look down at the bottom of the screen, it is just in time to go through your top 3 for each class. Starting from A, we've got Grandmaster Matt with a 235, followed by Mogul with 201, and Articulate Fox with 117. Worth noting, we have plenty of drops left in the season. In B class, we've got Daniel Cochran, who I did not spell his name right, followed by Kieran Martin with 228, tied with Left Sync Handle also at 228, so strong battle in P2. C class is Flair with 240, Max Yang with 232, and Slappin with 232, another tie. D class has Big Blue Dart with 237, Kyle's with 237, and MCP Tron with 172, so a tie for the lead. And in the rookies, we've got Rick Nicholson with 233, Bobert with 227, and Phantasm with 172. Again, plenty of weeks left to get some drops in. There's going to be 5 dropped races in total. These are the current standings with only 2 of the worst results dropped so far. So plenty of time for these guys to get some strong points on the board. And on top of that, it's dynamic rankings. I know we said that a lot in the GT3 class, but I will say it every event we have. We do have plenty of racers that are working their way through the grid and trying to make it look easy. So we'll finish out the lap here with Gio Sano, and then we're going to try and just jump around quickly, keeping an eye at who is on hot laps at what given moment. Just kind of go from Now, I haven't been to Zolder in real life, but it does seem like they are at the heart and soul of renewable energy, which I can certainly stand to appreciate. As we jump over to Flair, who actually is on an outlap right now, so we'll give the eyes over to Big Blue Dart, who is that one of our D-class racers? It is. So Big Blue Dart with a phenomenal showing. Looks like had a little bit of struggle in sector 2 on the previous lap, but at 150.059 currently. Looks to be safely within that top 10. And I know there's a couple of racers, and I was going to say that are creeping towards it, but Bobart seems to have not liked where that lap was heading, gave up on it for the time being. We'll jump over instead to... I'm trying to see if anyone's up, but I'm not seeing anything crazy. It's possible Grandmaster Matt is, hanging in there as they start the lap. So I guess we'll see if they're able to find those 2/10 on Max Yang, or maybe even the full second to Articulate Fox. Hey, 157 is not bad at all. Anything under 2 minutes is still pretty decent for, again, this is a rookie server, and there's a reason we have these split classes at the moment. We want to make sure that everything stays fair and even. And you'd be surprised, consistency in these events way outweighs the pace. The guy who's going to end up doing a 148 or a 149 throughout the entire 20 minutes is most likely to win, not the guy who's going to hit the 147 once. So, now that being said, Fox and someone clearly are on another league of their own. But even in our rookie class, we go to Rick Nicholson, who's currently sporting a 150.8, and with that in mind, I'd say the consistency there needs to be only really like a 152-ish for the win, or some misfortune for the points. It's also worth checking in to our GT3 broadcast, because you will very quickly see that there is a lot of chaos to be found in these events. There's no such thing as a guarantee. There's no such thing as the guy ahead of me is definitely going to beat me, because he can't control what's happening as he's passing slower cars if you get the lapping opportunity. And he can't always control how that pass plays out. So, like a moment like that, right? Grandmaster able to spin it to the inside, but if you're going too wide and you end up spinning to the outside, it's a very different race that you have going on at that point. We're going to try and catch on with Big Island Boy, who's got a 153.5 at the moment, and see where that ranks him. Right at the edge of P16. Got about a second to shave off. Plenty of time to do it as he heads into his final lap. And by plenty of time, apparently I mean this time to do it. So we'll see what Big Island Boy is able to be capable of. I do note that Max Yang had a pretty solid Sector 1. We're going to avoid the broadcaster's curse and see if we can help him out, finishing strong there, as he's one of our more susceptible racers to it. Actually, I do want to jump over to left signal on an absolute heater at the moment. 4/10 up on the Delta. This could be enough to take that P6 away from Daniel Cochran, but it's going to take big concentration as he comes up on the final chicane, the most awkward of, and really put all his focus into the exit here. So let's stay on him in this Harbor Freight 63 racer as he comes around the final two bends. Oh, and a little bit rough there. Going to cost him a 10th, but as long as it was clean, this is going to see some pretty solid improvement. I think it's enough. It is enough to catch on to Daniel Cochran, but bad news for left sync handle. Daniel's not done, as he's currently about a 10th up on his Delta. A little awkward through the chicane, but if he can keep the hammer down, he might be able to stay on top of the lap. Loses a little bit of time and needs to find 2/10 now in Sector 3. One of the harder sectors to shave off time in, but if anyone's going to be able to do it, it's a motivational man like Daniel himself. So we'll see what he can come up with. That was actually a nice, clean way through Jakenrit Bacht, as they call it. And this is the moment of truth. Was he too clean on his fast lap, or can he find a little bit of time here That is going to be the big guess. Does use the entire width of the track and full sends it, and he'll start to shave off a little bit of time off the Delta, but it won't be enough as he will have to just take that time to the bank for this lap. I'm looking around the grid, fellas, but I think this is going to be what it's going to be, as nobody else seems to be on pace for improvement. We only have overtime remaining, so I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this is our starting lineup. We're probably going to end up right around here. The only variable I'd say left is Joshurama, so we could check in there and see if maybe Josh is going to finish out with a clean lap. And it looks like they're just trying to put something on the board, but that doesn't mean that they can't. Let's see, is it clean at least? It is not, unfortunately, as they just came out of the pit. So we're not going to see a clean lap from Josh Rama. They are going to be starting at the back, and we will take things over from there. We take a moment to check out some of these liveries since we, yeah, I know, the broadcaster's curse is so real, so it happens to everybody. But this livery here is probably phenomenal, considering I can't see it, which means I didn't download it. But usually that means it's a nice custom livery, and one that I haven't seen is always cool to me. Right over here we've got one of the two Maryland racers made by Bo Els, a name that we haven't seen on the grid in a while. This one going to be blessed to us by Bobert. Actually, I guess at this point we can put the names back on since we're just doing a little grid walk here. Oopsie-daisy. Alright, and then we go over to CADS and the number 72 Aerosol Racing. That one, an absolute classic default livery. We have my own broadcast cam in, I believe this is Fatal Freaks number 66. Yep, the Fatal POV used to help us stream some of the broadcast. I like that he put all of his original tags. Some of these tags don't even exist anymore. But yeah, the pre-season champ, that was literally before we even did our first ever season, so that is a cool badge to have on the livery. Left sync handle in the Harbor Freight livery. We've got Kyle's in the Castrol Oil 2, Big Blue Dart and Max Yang back-to-back in the 55s. Daniel Cochran in the 60s, Sam in the 36, Slappin in the gold Marlboro Mo. We do have a red Marlboro we'll come up on later. Again, another custom livery that I'm sure is incredible. Someone rocking the Holy Roller, which we always appreciate. Big Island Boy in the Techley Racer. Shout out Josh, who may be among us in the grid. Tends to sport different names, so you never know. We have Charlie Top Hat also in the Harbor Freight livery. Grandmaster Matt in the original Marlboro Mo livery. The gold one was given once he won one of the seasons. Flair in the Ferrari MX5 and Articulate Fox in the classic DLRT Dark Lounge Race Team livery. That thing is beautiful through and through. That one we always see up on the podium here, whether it's in first or second. I don't know that we've seen it in third, barring absolute chaos in the reverse grids, but a phenomenal pace always out of the DLRT livery. So might just be good luck to sport it. I'm trying to see if Mo ended up putting something about the fact that he won on this one. Marlboro World Championship Team. I think that's just in reference to the fact that it's the same for both of them. So with that in mind, we've got about 45 seconds now until the race kicks off. We're going to join on with someone up front, but this is your lineup. We've got someone, Articulate Fox, Max Yang, Grandmaster Mac, Flair, Left Sync Handle, Daniel Cochran, Big Blue Dart, Sam S, Charlie Top Hat, Slappin, Rick Nicholson, Kyle's 32, Beans, Bobert, Cads, and Big Island Boy as we get things loaded up and ready to go here in race 1 of 2. There's only an 8km/h wind. Not that it affects these guys too much, but it is worth noting as we get ready. The lights go on, and away we go. Pretty electric start here from the mid-pack. We see them already bunching up a little bit, just trying to move in, trying to defend their lane, as everybody's going to want to be to this far outside where Articulate Fox is. See a little bit of squeezing already going on back there, and we do have some bumping and grinding, but nothing too bad. Everybody's keeping things moving. There's just a little bit of nudging. Everybody's still racing, though, so that is what we like to see. Everybody moving and grooving here in the early moments of the race, as we got a couple of shifts already happening. Flair already up to P4, and we've got our first big moment as Max, Yang, and Big Blue Dart have a little bit of a collision and rush to get back on track. Almost a little bit of a scary contact, but ended up not being too bad. Charlie Top Hat getting caught, Big Island Boy getting caught, a bunch of guys getting caught up in the chaos as they just try to make their way through. Let's jump up towards the front of the grid, because I see Flair trying to make an early move into a chicane. That is a dangerous spot to make a move on lap 1, but Grandmaster Matt, a seasoned racer, sees it coming, leaves a little bit of extra space, and they are able to all get by. I do see a 2 wide coming in the back, but it looks like Big Blue Dart able to sneak out in front and get going. Or sorry, Charlie Top Hat able to sneak out in front and get going. And looks like we have someone who either disconnected or a little bit of a lag spike, as we saw one car just go out for a minute. Oh, there it is back there. I think that's going to be Big Island Boy suffering a little bit from some lag, but nothing to be too concerned of, as the grid just levels itself out. Everybody trying to get an angle through. So we'll look forward here. I do see someone, is that Beans, ends up going off, and Articulate Fox has a big spin, possibly an awkward line, trying to keep up with someone or keep away from Flair. But now on the back foot, it's going to be a pretty far climb, but 17 minutes to go. I'm sure they can at least get themselves into position to fight for the podium. We do see a little bit further back some minor contact with Slappin and Max Yang. Oh, I say minor, but it looks like Slappin did unfortunately get caught up pretty good. Now going to have to awkwardly wait for the grid to get around before they can get moving, as we see someone coming out of the pits. I think that's going to be... I didn't see who it was. It's going to be Cads, looks like, who ends up having to step back a little and try and work their way in. So missing clean laps from a lot of the guys around the grid right now. Trying to pull up the gaps. There we go. And see, it looks like we got a little bit of a mid-pack here with Sam, Articulate Fox, Rick Nicholson, and Kyle's heading into the chicane. I am keeping an eye on Daniel Cochran. Does seem to be trying to make a move on left sync handle somewhere, but we got chaos. Oh, as the Castrol oil car finds itself spun around. All three of these racers just trying to stay moving and out of the way from the guys behind. Sam not going to be thrilled with the way that worked out, because he did lose a little bit of time to these two ahead, but Articulate Fox going to put the moves on Rick Nelson and slow things down a little bit, give Sam a chance to try and catch up, as we see somebody going wide in the background there. We'll let everybody move on, as it is Bobert who tries to take the 2 wide with Kyle's, and unfortunately unable to make it work. We're going to jump over to Daniel now, see if he's able to get near left sync handle. Left sync handle, I think, coming up on a lapped car, and that's where things will get interesting. That is Petrohead, who may have joined the server a little bit late, but trying to keep things clean, which is all we can really ask for. Hopefully acknowledging the race coming up behind them, because this is going to be a tight one right here. Daniel Cochran and left sync handle fighting for position. This racer is slowing things down just a little bit to let this blue flag battle go, and I think left sync handle was a little worried about how it would work out, but the confidence of Daniel Cochran did help him push through, and he's going to be just trying to defend that spot for a little bit. We'll give left sync handle a chance to dive in through the chicane, but it looks like it is Daniel that's going to walk away with the tighter line. So we'll jump back now to Sam S. That little fight with Articulate Fox did cost Rick Nicholson a little bit, as did that chicane. And this is what Sam might have been looking for. It's going to be another chicane, though, to try and work your way through. Oh, and he's going to nose in or think about it, as Rick shuts that door, doesn't even give him a second chance for the opportunity. We do see Max Yang has worked his way back into the top 10. That is some good pace there. And a little bit further back, we see Charlie Top Hat and a couple of guys fighting it out for P13. So we'll keep that on the left-hand side of your screen, because I'm sure we'll see a solid dive or two there. I can hear someone right behind it. That's going to be Kyle, as well, someone is up a little bit further ahead, just at a 1:46.5. Pretty solid race pace to keep things going. Left sync handle, though, lining themselves back up, it seems, for an opportunity on Daniel if they can. Don't want to lose sight of some of these other battles, but these guys are getting real close together up here. And that first couple corners does separate them off, so we'll jump back a little bit more. This time to Charlie Top Hat, see what he's bringing to the table as they head into lap number 4. We're already 7 minutes in, so these guys are moving, working their way through. It was honestly been a pretty clean race so far. Someone able to run away with it because Articulate Fox had a little bit of misfortune, and a double whammy is going to make things interesting, as we're going to have some cars flying around that corner in just a second, in just another second, in absolutely no seconds. So they've got plenty of time, and that didn't cost them too much at all. So I take all that back. Other than that, Sam is still trying to hunt down Rick Nicholson. Looks like these two are going to be the battle to watch, as the rest of the grid's getting a little bit separated. We're going to keep that left sync handle counter in your top left hand side of the screen, as I know with 13 minutes remaining, he's starting to think, can he still pull off the podium? He's currently lapping at a 1:48.7, where Grandmaster Matt is a 1:48.9. So Fox is definitely going to need to get into some clean air and get moving if he wants any chance at that final spot. Someone again with another fastest lap, this time 1:46.4, as we see Kyle now taking advantage of whatever's going on with Sam in the 36 car. Finds himself a second off the pace, and now has to be careful heading into the final straightaway. And unfortunately, that costs a lot of time, as now Sam finds himself in P9. We'll jump up over to this left sync handle battle and see where he makes his move. I have a feeling it might be coming in Sector 1, possibly at the chicanes, as he's closed this gap down quick to Daniel Cochran. That last lap, 0.4 of a second quicker, and plenty of, or sorry, that last lap was over a second and a half quicker, and plenty of time still to go. Just trying to take a look at the gaps now to the leader, as we see Articulate Fox slowly making their way through left sync handle here. Now going to try and catch up to Daniel Cochran. I thought Fox was already through this one, but I may have missed something in the process. But Fox going to get another position, as Daniel knows that is not the fight he's looking to fight. Just lets Fox go by, which I can't say I blame him at this point in time. So you got to do what you got to do to stay ahead, stay alive. And left sync handle going to look at that little moment of, you know, professionalism as a weakness for the car ahead, and is probably going to try and take advantage of Daniel Cochran's little slowdown there. So the gap between these guys has come down to within half a second. If he can keep it here, he might have a chance at the end of that long straightaway, definitely somewhere in Sector 1. Now through the Jackie X chicane, this is exactly what left sync handle was looking for. So a way to get right into the bumper. These guys do have drafting within about a half second, but you want to be sub 0.4 to really make an opportunity of it. And this is that opportunity. Oh, and left sync handle just trying to force the mistake. Not doing anything wrong, no bumping, no grinding, but just letting Daniel know he is there and ready to rip. And that's going to give him the advantage. Daniel checking his mirrors and maybe checking them a little bit too much, as left sync handle able to get the grip in through turns 2 and 3. And will that be enough to put a little distance? Only the chicane will tell, as we try and keep an eye on a couple other battles happening around the way. Looks like Bobert might be our next closest guy, trying to work his way over to Max Yang a little bit further back. But yep, that chicane is going to be a rough one for Daniel, so he's going to try and line himself back up where he can. Articulate Fox with a 9-second gap to the podium, currently lapping about a half second faster than Grandmaster Matt. It's not the pace that he's looking for to make that move, but at least the pace we're looking for a little bit of interest. Speaking of interest, let's take a look at some of the other things going on the grid. We've got Bobert slowly closing down the gap, this time to Kyle's 32. I thought it was Max 8, but I guess Kyle's 32. Bobert right now with a 154 on the last lap to Kyle's 202, but Kyle is capable of a 151, where Bobert's only shown us a 153 so far this lap, so might not be the tight battle that we're thinking of. We can use this moment, though, to kind of check around the grid. So Petrohead was one of our late joiners to the party, is going to be a full lap back, finds themselves in the middle of a little pack right here. And that will be the pack of Sam, Rick, and Max Yang, all trying to work their way up. Sam might be able to use him as a little bit of a drafting opportunity, though, so I don't think Sam's too upset with where he is. We'll then jump back to Big Island Boy, holding down P16 in the Techley livery. Had a little bit of issue with lag and some collisions up front, as you can see from the lightly damaged bumper. Nothing too crazy, but enough to make a little bit of a difference at this stage in the race. We then have Charlie Top Hat in Sam's livery, trying to catch up to Cads for P14. And then we've got... put it on that way, there you go. And after that, we've got Cads in the 72 Aerosol, just working their way around the grid, trying to catch up. They were within a second of Slappin' for a moment, but I think Slappin' was able to pick that pace right back up and get moving from there. Speaking of Slappin', you can see just a big gap ahead of him, so his focus will be in the rearview mirror, keeping Cads away. Big Blue Dart just trying to keep things clean, had a phenomenal pace in qualifying, a little bit of misfortune throughout the first half of the race, and it's going to be looking to make something work with that. Bobert struggling in that chicane, which is exactly what Blue Dart's going to want to see, but not what he's going to want to see, as he was nearly up to speed with Kyle, and that pack we saw earlier is starting to come to fruition. So let's take a look with them, see exactly what they have going on, as we now have a 4-man pack. I know one of these is a lapped car, but that lapped car could be the difference at this point, especially if Sam can work his way into that drafting range. He's got some solid pace. Petrohead putting up 151.068, so that definitely gives him the ability to stay out in front of these guys for a little bit longer, but at some point he's going to have a 3-man battle pushing and ready to get by. And the real question is, who will be the first to take advantage of the draft? Through stir and walk the box. It looks like Max Yang will be that first one to get a nose in. He's got a decision to make, though. Do you take the awkward line through, or do you do what Rick does and try and line yourself up for the high speed down the straightaway? Max chose the awkward line, and it does seem to be playing off, as you see Rick now, the car behind, as all 4 of these guys go through. Sam is going to be the awkward one, though, held up a little bit by the lap traffic, and you'll see Max know what's going on and try and take advantage. Sam's going to be stuck heading into a tight chicane, and this is not the place where you want to make a risky move, but it's also not the place you want to get stuck behind, as someone does a 145.878. Just absolutely ruthless pace around the track so far today. I will say Articulate Fox doing a decent job at cutting that down. Now only 6.8 seconds away from Grandmaster. Again, I don't think we're going to see that battle show up today, but if it does, we will be ready. As it does drop back down. It's fluttering between 6 and 7, so I hate that. Anyways, we are moving on here with this pack battle. Rick Nicholson starting to fall off it a little bit, but Max Yang not letting up on the throttle. So we are going to leave Rick for the time being with the drone cam. If we do see him get back close to the battle, we will absolutely join on. But it looks like it's going to be Max with the next opportunity. Sam trying to figure out a way to stay ahead as these two guys are going neck and neck into Stern Walkbach. And Max will come out on top to begin, but we've seen that inside line be a little bit faster. Can it be faster for Sam? And I don't think it will be through the Kanalbach, as Max not only gets ahead, but clears about a half second into a long straightaway. Oh, and runs into the wall, just pushing it a little bit too hard. That is unfortunate. It was a pretty good P7 chance, and just drastically trying to get onto the track now is going to cost a little bit of time. Just needs to slow it down, let Kyle go by, and get moving again. There you go. So you got a couple of guys coming on. They see Max going, and they're going to let him back onto the track. We still have 4 minutes remaining. That's plenty of time to make up a couple positions. You can still get your way back into that top 10, as you've got a couple of guys closing in on you here. And through the Thierry chicane, and I believe Max has lost the position to Slappin. Slappin might be a little bit of a harder one to try and get by. Now, good defense into the chicane is going to be key to start that climb back up, which Max, is probably dealing with a little bit of hot tires. Yep, and that is going to do it in. Just not trying to squeeze the guy to the outside, but unfortunately just ends up getting a little bit close. And this is going to be a lap to forget for the 55 car. I think the broadcaster's curse is coming in strong, but we'll let him get underway and see if he can get one position back around these final few corners here. You see a couple of cars struggling. Big Blue Dart had a little runner with the wall. That's going to help Max out. And can he finish the lap? Not the races, we still got time for that, but can he finish the lap back on top of any of these guys are in a position to strike? That is the question. Oh, look, there's a little freebie for him, as the Boels Maryland racer does have a little bit of problems getting by, and Max gonna just split it. We love a move like that, as we've got a dogfight to turn one. It looks like that 55 car is already a little bit ahead, and it all comes down to the breaking point. But we see that Boels racer again just sliding around. I believe that's going to be Bobert, as the 55 car tries to split the gap again, but sees the incoming traffic behind, does not want to risk getting rear-ended by Charlie. We've got a nice four-man fight brewing because of Max's earlier misfortunes. He's not going to be happy because this isn't the fight he wanted, but this is the fight he gets. Oh, it's a little crash with Big Blue Dart. Actually clears the field behind him. And that is probably not how he intended for the battle to go, but that is how the battle went. Speaking of intent, Rick Nicholson knows he's only got about a lap or two to make a move on Sam S. These two have been in a pretty close battle throughout the 20 minutes we've seen here. They are the closest ones we've got at the moment. Daniel Cochran has been hanging on by a thread to left sync handle, but with only one lap to go, it might be 2 laps to go, actually. Someone is on some crazy pace up ahead. So with probably 2 laps to go, it's going to be tough. It's going to take a little bit of a miracle to get by. We do see that someone is now behind, I believe, Big Island Boy in P. So he's actually past Big Island Boy. He's behind Big Blue Dart at the moment, trying to find a way through. I think the goal for someone there is to get by just one more lap. Just squeeze it out if they can. And I have a good feeling that they will be able to, as it seems like they've cleared Big Blue and are able to get moving. Charlie Toppett does seem to be in a little bit of fight here with Bobert, so we're going to keep an eye on that one and see if they can maybe get by. Rick Nicholson, though, still within that half-second gap to Sam. This is not their last lap. I cannot stress that enough. So we'll see if they got a little bit more time left to go. Articulate Fox was able to close that gap from 9 seconds down to 4 so far. Oh, and we've got a move brewing, a couple of them, as we've got Charlie Max and Bobart all together again. And this time it's Charlie that has a little bit of an issue. Max Yang still struggling right now. Has not a lot of pace in the car. Let's join on with Max for just a minute. I wonder if he's getting some suspension issues because he does seem to be struggling in on the lap. And obviously we'll wait until he gets back onto the straightaway. But that does look to be a pretty straight wheel, so it might not be the issue that we thought it was, but definitely seems like something's going on with the number 55 car. We'll jump on with these guys a little further ahead, though, because Bobart is really trying to defend against Top Hat, and they are fighting like it is the last lap. Despite having a little bit more to go, they've got one more on top of this, and it's going to be very interesting to see what they make of it. I do have Rick Nicholson and Sam's battle up on the left-hand side of the screen there. Sam does seem to be running away just a little bit right now, has extended that gap to almost a full second. So this might be the battle we have until the end. You can actually see right behind these guys off in the distance there is someone coming around to try and close things out, as Top Hat's got himself a nice lineup on that Bowell's Maryland Racer of Bombert, and is gonna have to try and find a way through. We're gonna let those guys go into turn one alone for a second, though, because we will watch as race winner someone comes across the line with a 26-second lead. So that is absolutely criminal. Things we love to see, including a little side-by-side action into turn one, and what is going to be a nice lineup for a final battle between these two racers in the battle for P14. I know it sounds funny, but a tight race is a tight race. If you're going to fight, we're going to watch it as, oh, that broadcaster's curse strikes Charlie Top Hat. Now, typically I'd say that's the move, but we are watching a mid-pack battle, so there is a chance that he gets another opportunity to get a little bit closer, depending on how these chicanes go. Oh, and that is one way to rip right through the chicane and get moving, as Top Hat just flew by Bombert. I mean, that was incredible pace, a full send. Might have been an off track, we're not sure. But Bombert is definitely bewildered by what they just saw. Isn't 100% clear on how that managed to go down that way. We do have most of the grid finishing up now. We've got P1 all the way down to P8, have wrapped things up. I think a couple more have crossed the line as we're trying to get, looks like actually all the way to P12 has crossed the line, as we got a few more guys working their way through the grid here. We just have to see if anything else shakes up on that battle, and then we will run you down that final order in just a moment's time. Let you know kind of where things shook up. Now, the live timings on your screen do get a little skewed by the guys in the pit, but that will be the end of the first race, as of tremendous battles all around, and a little bit of tire shredding. I don't think you could pock these MX5 tires if you tried, but it looks like someone has taken upon themselves to try. Daniel Cochran, hoping to prove me wrong on that one. But to run you down, we've got someone who finished up front, Flair in P2, Grandmaster Matt P3, Articulate Fox, Left Sig Handle, Daniel Cochran, Sam S, Rick Nicholson, Kyle's 32, Slappin', Cads, Charlie Top Hat, Bobert, Big Blue Dart, Max Yang, Big Island Boy, and Petrohead as your finishing order. I thought Max Yang did end up finishing ahead of Charlie Top Hat and Bobert. Maybe I missed something there with the way that the laps ended. Max may have been going, I'm not positive. On that note, we've got one more race to go. It is the reverse grid section here. we will be having an absolute blast of a reverse grid if I had to guess. And I'm very curious to see what that looks like heading into turn one. Looks like we had a little bit of lap one incidents that people weren't super thrilled about, but just a reminder to the guys to open tickets if they've got any issues with stuff. We certainly do our best to accommodate with the racers. Alright, so let's take a look at what we got here for race 2. We've got Petrohead, Big Island Boy, Max Yang, Big Blue Dart, Bobbert, Charlie Top Hat, Cads, Slappin, Kyles, Rick Nicholson, Sam, Daniel Cochran, Left Sync Handle, Articulate Fox, Grandmaster Matt, Flair, and someone as the order of the grid. We'll take a look at how things go for our big race 2. We've got Petrohead starting in front. Now that's going to be a big advantage for them as they were able to pick up some pretty serious pace and go from there. But we've got lights on and we are ready to go here in race 2 for the reverse grid. Possibly a little bit of a jump start from Big Island Boy. That was pretty sweet pace. Looks like it's actually going to be something to do with the lag spikes on Big Island Boy's part as they were not even visible to half the grid. Now on the other hand of things, these two were visible. That's going to be Left Sync Handle and Slappin' having some issues there into turn 1 as we see the rest of the grid just bunching up trying to make it through, and it looks like they thankfully were able to. Oh, it's going to be some tight racing here as we can already see a couple of guys trying to find space where there's not a ton of it, and we even see 3 wide even further up. So let's take a look down at these guys as we head into the first chicane and see who makes it out alive. It looks like thankfully the majority of the grid is here to play ball and here to survive, and a couple of close calls. That is a 4 wide, gentlemen. Wow, this is not a 4 wide track, and I think they thankfully realize that. But we see Articulate Fox, Kyles, Grandmaster, and I think Sam all heading together, and Fox just has too hot of a line through that chicane, causes a little bit of chaos with Bobber. But everybody, for the most part, manages to keep moving on through and keep the race going. As we see a little bit of chaos. Like I said, it's a good old-fashioned race 2 reverse grid. There is nothing wrong with that. It just, you know, if everybody tries their best to keep it clean and maybe not do things like that, it would be great. But we're just going to keep watching them as they head on through. We got Left Sync Handle here carrying up the rear, and we'll jump forward to another big pack heading into yet another chicane. And we do see them sliding through cleanly this time around. Let's take a look at a little bit further back as we see someone just go completely off the track. That's going to be Big Island Boy trying to just squeeze their way in for the draft and see what they can do. It looks like they're having a little bit of lag issues still as we see a couple of racers just getting caught up in the mix. Big Island Boy manages to avoid that though and sneak right through the chaos and is working on their climb back up towards the front. A little bit further ahead, I noticed we got a little 3-way battle going on with Sam, Flair, and someone all trying to work their way up to the guys ahead. I do see Petrohead has managed to maintain that lead, but not without Max Yang hot on the heels, and same with Big Blue Dart. You can see this grouping getting closer and closer together now as that pack is shrinking. P1 and P2 are together. P3 all the way to P14 are equally spaced. So this is going to be a tight one as things keep going. And we'll take a look into the chicane and see if everyone's able to keep that sucker clean, which they almost were. Although it looks like Daniel Cochran getting caught up in the chaos just a little bit. Little love tap there with Rick Nicholson. Again, a little bit of rubbing, a little bit of racing does happen at this stage of the reverse grid. It's just trying to do your best not to try and climb your way too quickly. Survival is the name of the game in these second races, and it seems like a lot of our main racers have forgotten that today. See a little bit of a collision there in the back, as we've got a racer just bouncing all over. Oh, never mind. It is who we thought it was. Unfortunately, just getting all tossed around. Looking at Cad's a little bit further ahead right now, trying to work their way, but this is the big gap. P14 down to P17 all seem to be a little bit further away. Do see a little bit of contact here with Grandmaster and Flair, but thankfully racers do seem to keep going. Oh, and barely sneaking through, as we've got so many tight battles. It's hard to keep track of where to look as these things go on. But it looks like someone is able to get by cleanly and keep moving. That's going to be Flair in the Ferrari and Grandmaster Matt hot on his heels heading into the chicane. Grandmaster Matt going to set up for a move, but I think it'll be a fake out, as that is a tight chicane to go by. Now the fake out does force Flair to go full send a little bit more than usual perhaps through that chicane there, but they do make it by, as we've got a 2 wide slightly further behind them with left sink handle and Rick Nicholson and Charlie Top Hat just waiting to pick up the pieces if that had continued through the second chicane. But for both of their sakes, it did not. So Petrohead looking pretty good right now. That's not a bad spot to be. That's where I would want to be personally. Oh, as we jump over to Flair, putting a little bit too much of a move on Kyle. The door wasn't fully open, but you got to try at this stage in the game. See a little bit of waviness going on from Bobert further back, but manages to recover it, puts himself in a tight spot, as he's going to have left sink handle breathing down his neck, and soon to be Rick Nicholson. A little bit of contact up ahead as we got the 3 wide of Grandmaster, Flair, and Kyle's all still trying to get sorted, as Bobert's off pace does end up putting him in the middle of an interesting moment with Top Hat, Rick Nicholson, and left sink handle. But we'll jump back up to this 3-pack. Oh, as we see Grandmaster almost lose it. That was an amazing save. Manages to keep the pace. Flair, unfortunately, not able to go all the way out and around Kyle's, and that'll give Grandmaster the inside and the pace to make the move. Flair's going to line up to try and follow him, but ends up falling in line. Doesn't want to risk any more chaos. I think he's seen enough of it, whether on himself or the cars around, in these early stages of the race. And I can't say that I blame him. It's been a tough one, as we got a little bit of wheel banging going in. Is Flair going to try and make that move? He is, and Kyle's is not going to keep that door open. And that car is just a tank. Oh, as we have a little bit of contact. That's going to be Flair and Sam S., as we've got a couple of racers off the grid. We got someone going off the track to try and make this move. And I got to take a quick look. That was left sink handle, making a mildly calculated effort, but unfortunately it was a miscalculated effort to get by and get into the mix. I do see a little further up, Max Yang trying to set himself up for that P1 opportunity. Has gotten within a second after a little bit of issues in the previous lap, and we're still seeing those little bump and grinds here. These guys are either racing without radar or aren't caring too much about it. We'll see exactly what is going on as things progress. And we do see Daniel Cochran now looking for a move on Bobert and Cads. Left sink handle, not one to be messed with though, as those two guys were fighting it out hard throughout the whole of race 1, and I'm sure they'll continue to fight in race 2. We also then have we then have the battle with Flair trying to catch up to Big Blue Dart a little bit further ahead. It's going to be a tricky spot to get into. And speaking of tricky spots, it looks like Max Yang did try to go for a move into the chicane, was not able to make it stick on Petrohead as they ran into a little bit of contact. And we now have another 4-man battle, this time a little bit further up the grid. So let's pop the little camera on there. And of course, as I do that, Obert goes past Kyle's into the chicane. And we see Articulate Fox and someone trying to get the pass on Max Yang. Max Yang not going to give up 2 positions in one shot, though. Going to keep the hammer down and try and make the most of this outside opportunity. Might go for a little switch back here and try and force the awkward angle, but won't have to, as it looks like someone will stick to the inside, put themselves at a pace disadvantage, and go from there. We do see a couple of tenths separating these racers, and this is a tough spot to be in at this moment. Looks like we don't really have too much wind going on, don't really have anything that we super got to worry about as far as variables other than each other. So let's see what someone at Max Yang can come up with through turn 1. Looks like a huge difference in angles of attack, and we'll find out who that pays off for. It does look like someone's got a little bit more pace and is able to rip through that inside line. Again, Max, no slouch, is going to continue that battle and try and keep it moving and keep the pressure on, as we see Rick Nicholson get past Kyles, who seemed to have a little bit of an off-track moment through turn 1, as we see Rick trying to chase down Charlie Top Hat on the left-hand side of your screen. So we've been sticking with Max for a little bit, but we're going to jump back up here to someone who's trying to stick with Articulate Fox and Petrohead. This is the battle for P1, so that's why we don't want to step too far away from it. We will keep an eye on this battle for P8 a little bit further down the grid, but don't make a mistake. These guys are all fighting pretty evenly throughout the grid. Very tight battles all the way through. As we see Articulate Fox hanging on to the position. Sorry, there's a lot going on around the grid. I'm just trying to make sure we don't miss too much of the action here, where we can avoid it, as we do even see Bobert fighting with Rick Nicholson, Cads fighting. I think after this section right here, if these guys can get a little separation from each other, we're going to try and peel away from the front battle and take a look at some of the mid-pack action if we can. This is looking pretty consistent. I can see the headlights of Max Yang just kissing the tail end of someone in front. So I think these guys are going to give us a moment to do a quick run around the grid. So let's check in right now. We've got Bobart is kind of hot on the heels there. We've got Cads, a little bit of separation from Kyle's. And then a little further ahead, I knew this was coming the second we turned away. Articulate Fox did take his dive into the chicane. I tried to bring us back to it, but we definitely missed out. And that did cause Petrohead to take a little bit of a backup, and someone had to slow down, causing Max Yang to push up to P3. So a tight fight between these racers. Someone is going to be trying to catch back up to Articulate Fox and goes again for the switch of position with Max Yang. Max not fighting the overtakes, but definitely not just giving in. He's using them for the draft. He's waiting for the opportunities and definitely capitalizing on any mistakes he's run into so far. I will say someone and Max Yang do seem to be getting further and further away from the possibility of P1. given how race one went, someone's probably going to need to get by Petrohead on this lap if they're looking to close that gap, make anything happen. A little bit further back in the grid, though, it looks like Cads might finally see that opportunity they were waiting for. Obviously, we don't want to miss the action, so we'll keep that up in the top left corner of your screen for now. As we've got a few racers trying to work their way around the grid. Oh, and a little bit of a dive there, thinking about the opportunity, but it's enough to force a mistake if he keeps the gas on. Oh, and just a little bit of a tire spin, and that is going to make things a little difficult. Switch over to the TV cam for just a second while I take care of something, but this race is currently electric, and I'm very excited to see how things shake up. Alright, and we are back for that. Let's take a look now. See, it doesn't seem like we missed any big passes, and actually it's starting to look like the grid is fully separating for now. Someone did manage to get by Petrohead on the top left corner of the screen while we're doing that, and is now working their way up to Articulate Fox. Only 5 minutes remain, and their best laps are separated by about a second in someone's favor. If you guys are keeping up with all the someones, I am very proud of you, because that is not an easy thing to do. Even I'm getting lost with them, but we'll see how she goes. I am trying to keep an eye on any fights we see a little bit further back. It looks like Rick Nicholson is in maybe a little bit of a side-by-side right now. They are with Cads. Those two racers not giving up on each other or the fight at hand. We don't want to miss the battle for P1, so we're going to try and keep an eye as to when that gets close. But Cads and Rick Nicholson have not given up on trying to take that final spot in the top 10 away. Oh, and that, as badly as I want to see where this one goes, I cannot ignore what's happening here. We do have the fight for P1, someone in the Holy Roller versus the DLRT of Articulate Fox, now into the final 2 laps of battle. Fox going to try and stay ahead for just one more lap before the real wheel-to-wheel action begins. It'll all come down to this chicane. Someone definitely getting a better line into the chicane, and he will be able to power through, but I think Fox is okay with that. Fox might be lining himself up to either hold the inside line or take a last-second draft in. We'll see if he goes late on the brakes here or not. He doesn't quite go late, but does let someone make a little bit of a mistake so he can keep that edge to himself. Both of these guys have just slightly different lines through, but know the different opportunities that come on the track. So I think we're going to get some good, clean battling in both of the final laps here between both of these guys. We do see Max Yanks starting to catch up once more to Petrohead to try and get that final podium spot away. Just worth noting, Left Sync Handle, Charlie Top Hat, and Sam are once again in a pretty nice 3-way battle. I don't know if they were with each other in the first race, but all 3 of them were involved in tight races. Oh, as Max Yang pulls off a massive move through the chicane to get by Petrohead. A little bit of contact between them, but seems like both are able to keep moving, as someone's still not able to find that way through. Really desperately trying, as this time Petrohead goes with the send into the chicane, and manages to come out on top. Does seem like all this fighting has given Grandmaster Matt the opportunity to join that fight, as someone looking to dive to the inside and is not going to be able to get the chance. So this will be it. They are coming up on their final opportunity of racing. Grandmaster Matt going past Max Yang in the top left of your screen, and will now be the one to try and put the moves on to Petrohead for that final podium spot. Petrohead again did a phenomenal job of keeping the pace, keeping things interesting. But Max Yang refusing to give up. That's been the story of Max Yang's race today. He might be getting past, but he's going to make you work for every second of it, and that is exactly what he's doing. He says, if I can't pass Petrohead, no one's passing Petrohead, and rips one through into the start-finish straightaway. Now this is going to be the final lap, so I think we're going to start to see them get a little bit more creative here as they do come up on lap traffic. I can already see the gears turning in someone's head, debating the best way, to get all the way through, and it absolutely is a tight race between them. We will see who comes by, and it so far looks like I don't see where someone's going to be able to make the opportunity. It's just such an even pace between them. He seems to get close right at the most awkward of moments, but if anyone's going to be able to pull it off with the pace that they had in race one, it is someone. But if anyone's going to be able to defend this to the last second, it's Articulate Fox. So a battle of the beasts heading into the final three corners of the track. Let's count them down here. Turn number 3 gets someone a little bit closer, and turn number 2 coming up before the final turn number 1. Yeah, I guess I could have done that the other way. And oh my God, could this be the move? It's a dogfight down to the finish. A little bit of bump and grind with Articulate Fox, and oh, Fox pulls it off right at the line. That is a tight finish there. We're gonna see if we can also get a tight finish out of these two, as a little bit of contact maybe, I think. I'm not sure what quite happened to Petrohead. As Petrohead's engine is off, so it looks like Petrohead may have run out of fuel, and that is what cost them the end of their race there. I was trying to figure out where that came from, and we'll look a little bit further down the grid. Looks like Cads would be the only other one with an opportunity, trying to chase down Charlie Top Hat, and is not able to. So we'll switch things over to the auto cam for now, see what else we got going on into these final corners. That is going to wrap things up. Sorry for the little bit of distractions at the end, as per usual in classic Real Rookie Racing fashion. We have a little bit of stuff to go over and review, things to just look back on and make sure that we have all settled away. But on that note, we do see a phenomenal finish from our guys around the grid. Very appreciative for everyone in yet another beautiful season race. I promise this man spell Daniel's name correctly next week, and we will go from there.